Okay, and can you state your name and what office you're running for?
My name is Mark Sullivan, and I'm running for Tarrant County Probate Court number 1.
Okay, and why are you running for that office?
Running for this office because I've always wanted to be a judge, and I've worked my whole life to this goal. And I've actually been working as the court administrator for Probate Court 1 for the last 17 years. And my boss, Steve King, decided to retire after 23 years. So I think I'm the person to step in and fill the gap.
Okay, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but can you briefly describe a little more detail to your qualifications for the office?
I graduated from Baylor Law School in 1979, came up, went to the city attorney's office in Fort Worth. So I was a prosecutor, chief prosecutor, police legal advisor, represented civil departments, and then went into a small firm for a year and a half, and then started my own practice. During that, from 1985 to 2000, I did probate, family, probate law, family. I was appointed as a attorney ad litem to represent people in probate, guardianships, mental illness cases. I served as a pro tem judge for the city of Fort Worth for 10 years. I served for another 4 years for the city of Kennedale as a pro tem judge, doing cases for them. I served as a probate master, as a person who determines probable cause in mental health, mental illness cases. That was for 6 years. That's a function that's now taken over by our associate judges. I served as a substitute or a fill-in judge in the courts, doing associate judge matters for a few months while someone was out sick. I took turns with other attorneys filling in that gap and helping out. I've got experience on the bench, and for the last 17 years I've been the court administrator for Probate Court number 1. And part of that time is spent every other Thursday. I have an uncontested docket that I hear. I review all the cases, and I take testimony and make recommendations to Judge King about granting the applications for probating of wills as either a received letters testamentary or as a muniment of title.
What do you believe the proper role of government is?
The proper role of government, from the standpoint of the probate courts and from our standpoint, we are providing services for people who don't necessarily want to be there. They're brought to us by necessity. And people that have suffered loss, people that are incapacitated, people that are suffering from either a mental illness or a condition that needs them to have services provided for them. We're providing a necessary function. We're not something that's going to be able to make money. We're not something where you're going to fight over a breached contract as a general issue. You don't come to us because you want to generally. We do have the power to hear contested cases. We do have the power to reach out and pull in cases involving decedents' estates and guardianships, anything involving a personal representative, anything that's appertaining or incident to are the words that were used in the past. And so we're a service. We provide things and try to make it so that somebody will come into our court, receive an expeditious, a fair and open hearing, and move on through. When I was doing family law, I couldn't make people be a better parent. I could just say, don't have a situation that's going to adversely impact the kids. And here we're trying to say, what can we do to get you through this process?
When and for what reason should state or local government be allowed to seize private property under eminent domain?
Boy, eminent domain. Actually, I think that the statutory probate court in Denton County has the power of eminent domain and hears condemnation cases. We don't actually have that power in our court, but you know, if they're going to have to come, if I were doing it in a court that had that power, I think that they would have to make a real hard argument and to a public necessity. You couldn't just say, well, the big scheme is that we want to do this and the development is going to make it one way and it's going to be better for everybody. I think I would be really hard pressed to say that, you know, you have to do it one way or the other. The facts are all going to drive everything.
Is Texas in need of civil asset forfeiture reform?
I'm not really looking at, from my past history, we've done civil asset reform things with the city attorney's office, and where somebody's involved in a criminal activity and assets have been seized. And as to the current status on it, I don't know that I have an opinion that I can say that they should do this or they shouldn't do that.
What is your position on marriage rights?
Marriage rights. We're bound by the terms of the law. And from the probate standpoint, we've had cases come up to determine what are the rights of a surviving same-sex spouse, or what are the rights for somebody to inherit. And if you're going to go through the process and the process is available, then you're going to get all access in our courts for the protection of those rights.
What are the top 3 issues for your campaign?
The top 3 issues for my campaign would have to be understanding that the people need to see what it is that we do. Hopefully we'll get a full understanding that there's a lot of moving parts to a probate court. It interacts with everybody else in the county. We've got 1,400 active guardianships. We've got mental health cases that are growing by 25% per year. Last year was an abnormality, and they went up by 40%. So we don't bring in money, you know. We've got to look at trying to maintain the efficiency of our court, which we've been doing for years, in trying to do more with less. So we try to be efficient, we want to be open, we want to be fair, and those are the things that we need to make applications to other people, to give them as an opportunity to, we'll look at any option that we have to better our system and keep an open mind on that.
What are the top 3 things that make you more qualified than your opponents?
Experience, experience, and experience. Okay, if location, location, location are the 3 things that are what qualifies something. I've got, I think, a proper judicial temperament. I've got judicial experience. I've got practice for 15 plus years before both Probate Court 1 and Probate Court 2, doing probate, guardianship, mental health, civil litigation. I was part of a team that won a landmark case to reach out to the case when the court would say, you need to come in under 5B of the Texas Probate Code, and we could pull the case into us. And this is a special power for the statutory probate courts. And I was part of the team that won that case that's been known as Henry versus Lagrone, and it came out of Tarrant County case. So I've got experience that nobody else has, and then 17 years working with the commissioners, the IT people, the HR departments for Tarrant County. I've got a background and an experience that nobody else has. But what I need to hopefully convey to people is that my experience uniquely qualifies me. But to have a voice, I'm going to need to be the judge of the court.
Can you describe your political experience as well as experience as an election volunteer, staffer, any campaigns you've worked on?
Campaigns and things that I've worked on were mainly more in my youth. As I told other folks that we've had, as a member of the court staff for the last 17 years, I've been bound by the same rules and the ethic procedures that Judge King has had. That we can't reach out, we can't support one person over another, we can't show favoritism, and so I don't have a social media footprint. I have not been active in somebody's campaign and supporting somebody because I can't be accused of having favoritism either for a person or a party or something else that somebody could then bring up and say, well, you've shown favoritism. You really can't be fair. You have to avoid the appearance of favoritism. And we've had cases when Judge King was the presiding judge for the statutory probate courts in Texas. We would get calls all the time and get appointments, and I'd help work through the paperwork to get a judges appointed to cover grounds for recusal, to have the judges removed for showing favoritism. So I'm well aware of this, been doing this for 17 years, and that's why I don't have a political footprint. I've supported people personally and privately, but not publicly.
You want to jump down here?
Yeah.
What will you do to improve the lives, families, and communities of those that enter your court?
I think what everybody wants to have is they're going to have to try to reduce the stress, the anxiety that comes into court. I had an aunt that came out and saw me when I was working in municipal courts, and she said she had never been there, but people are coming in and saying, what do I do? You know, I'm in the courts, and they're anxious. They've never done that. You're either coming to family court, more people coming to that, or they're coming to a municipal court, or they're coming in to take care of a family situation for a guardianship or a decedent's estate. And it's a foreign attitude, a foreign sphere where people have to look at it and say, we're going to, what is this? It's foreign. I don't know what's going on. And try to make it more comfortable. And that's the basic thing, is to not upset people. Try to make them go through the process, make it easy for them, make it open, make it understandable. And as we've said before, sometimes we're accused of being enablers because we tell the attorneys, we try to help them in so much as we can to get it done right, and don't put something on the back of your client.
I got two more real quick. We've got about a minute and a half.
Okay.
The drugs and alcohol are a large part of this court. How do you plan to approach and evaluate these very difficult situations?
Drugs and alcohol would have to be those that tied to incapacity or mental illness, and those situations are going to be on a case-by-case basis. We have a system that's developing now so that we can do an outpatient treatment, and so that we can, instead of sending somebody to 90-day commitment, we can put them into a system with supports and services outside of that. And they come in every week and they meet with our associate judge, and that's working to help as an alternative.
And on those alternative programs, how do you feel about faith-based recovery programs?
Faith-based recovery groups?
Yeah, programs.
We're open to anybody. We're looking to say, what do you have? What do you offer? We've been working with groups with the mental health issues for 17 years. We've had a quarterly meeting with the judges in the hospitals, and then it's expanded to the DA's office, and then the people in Wichita Falls on the long-term commitments. And we've expanded this to more people the criminal courts, and what first started out as, well, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, has developed into, where are we at? What do we need to do? What's the future look like? What can we do? And and I hope to continue with that. The quarterly meetings with the MHMR and the hospitals, in hoping to make this process easier for everybody involved.
We're out of time, but just real quick, if you have any last words, a website and any last statement and a website for for the voters.
What I have to offer is 38 years of work. I've worked hard, I've worked consistently. I was interviewed to become the court administrator for Judge King 17 years ago, and my resume was looked at by J.D. Johnson, and he looked at it and he says, well, you've done all these things, when are you going to run for judge? And I said, well, you've got to open a third court and I'm your man, but otherwise I've got to wait for Judge King or Judge Furchel to decide that they've had enough fun, and who knew it was going to be 17 years. But I think I've got some more time than me. I've got more to offer, and that's what I want to do.
Do you have a website?
Website is marksullivanforjudge.com.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.